Welcome back to another episode of the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. I'm your host, Deborah Deras, here to help you monetize your magnificence. I believe that each one of you are a messenger for a very important message. And now is the time to speak up and be heard, my friends. And that's why we have this podcast. I share expertise and bring you experts who have been speaking, some of them for 3 decades. They share all their secrets to book highly paid gigs and how they market their business and how you can too. And without any further ado, I'm going to start the show with some gifts. So, one of the things that I know a lot of my coaching clients have been telling me is they're ready to launch their online program. Now's the time. You're staying at home during this quarantine pandemic. You have ideas, your creative juices are flowing, but you need to put it online. How do you do that? Well, I use Kajabi. It's a easy platform to put together where you can take a coaching membership, a mastermind program, or a digital download academy all at the touch of your fingers. If you want to get started, I have a free 28-day trial, and you could just go to beapaidspeakernowpodcast.com. Link is below, beapaidspeakernowpodcast.com, and you can start your online program. I'm so excited. I'm starting mine. I have actually three. I have one, it's a Be a Paid Speaker Now Academy. One is a Synergy Speaker Mastermind. And the third one, should I tell you what it is? Hot off the press. It's coming up this fall or late summer. It's Ignite Your Revenue. It's going to be a group coaching program on mindset, marketing, and manifestation. 3M program. Oh, yeah. It's coming soon. Another gift that I have for you is if any of you are interested, I have a free webinar. It's the 5 mistakes new speakers make and how to avoid them. You can grab it at deborahderas.com/speak now. It's deborahderas.com/speak now. I'll put it in the comments below so that you can make sure you take advantage of all of that. So without any further ado, you must be thinking, Deborah, where is your guest? I don't see your guest. Are they hiding behind the plant? Is your plant the guest? No, I have to tell you, every once in a while, I have a show where I answer your questions. So if you're not already asking questions, be sure you start, okay? I read your comments, whether you're listening on iTunes or you're listening on YouTube or on my Facebook page, wherever you're listening to the podcast. I want to hear from you. And when you ask your questions, it gives me ideas for future episodes. So this episode is on how to use, guess what? Webinars to grow your speaking business. How to use webinars to grow your speaking business. And I'm going to take your questions. I have the questions right here and answer them. And if you have questions while we're live, feel free to type them in and I'll answer them live on the spot because this time is for you. This whole podcast, my intention always was that you don't make the same mistakes I made as a new speaker, that you don't spend the time, that you don't waste the money on things that you don't want or that you don't need, and you set yourself up for success with ease and with grace. Okay, so without further ado, let's start. Okay, so let's talk. First question: how can webinars convert into coaching or consulting clients, right? So right now, we're at home and I know that you have your expertise, which are your speaking programs. And these speaking programs, you usually deliver, most of you, in a PowerPoint, right? I really never did deliver my speeches in the PowerPoint. I remember when Procter and Gamble asked me to speak and we were talking about, the event and what it was going to be like. And they're like, are you going to use a PowerPoint? And I said, no. They're like, we didn't think so. You are the PowerPoint. So usually I am my own PowerPoint. And it's just really easy for me just to speak extemporaneously, using my key points and notes and everything. However, those of you that love to have PowerPoints and have Prezi or presentations, guess what? You're halfway there to doing a webinar. Because the only thing that you need to do is convert your presentation into a webinar. And how would you convert it into a webinar? You just want to make sure that your slides are visually pleasing, right? So you don't want to have too much text on there. Mostly when I see great speakers do keynotes, they don't have a lot of text. It's mostly just images and they're speaking to it. But when you're doing a webinar, it's more like a presentation. So you want to add just enough text so that they can really pick up what you're throwing down, because they don't have your in-person energy. But if you do webinars right, they should be able to feel your energy. And during your webinars, if you're positioning yourself accurately, you're going to be doing some case studies of how you've worked with coaching clients or consulting clients, for those of you that consult with companies. And when you're using my formula, you ready for my formula? It's SAR. I should write that in the comments, or somebody write in the comments for me. It's situation, action, result. It's not SARS. We're not talking about SARS. We're talking about SAR. It's an acronym that will help you when you're doing case studies, when you're doing anecdotes, to really show how you helped a client. So say I'm giving a speech about, I don't know, podcasting for business. I'll say, one time I was coaching a client to start a podcast and they were unclear on, what is the topic that they should pick for their podcast, because they have so many interests and so many expertise. And so they just didn't know what to do. And so they came to me for a clarity coaching session, and I worked with them using my system to be able to identify what is their true heart's desire, what is their vision. And I did this process where they were able to get the divine downloads. And after that, they journaled on the session. And next thing you knew, they had their podcast topic and they were using their podcast at the top of their funnel to grow their coaching consulting practice. And that's what I can do with you. So you see how I did that? Situation, I had a client that was struggling. The actions that I took, I did this clarity coaching. I did this divine download process. And the result was, now they're doing it, right? But you weave it into your speech. You don't have your whole speech story, anecdote. I like to say, and I know this isn't a webinar, this isn't a podcast about how to do a speech, but while I'm on here, I might as well talk to you about it. The format for speeches is usually fact, story, call to action. Fact, story, call to action, right? So the fact is people are listening to podcasts now more than ever. Story, you tell the story, and then the call to action. Now's your time to start a podcast. See? Get it? Okay. So how do you convert your webinars into coaching clients? Case studies, success stories. Use the SAR system. Okay. You guys picking up what I'm throwing down? Let me hear your comments. Let me get a thumbs up. Let me get some hearts. Let me get something. Give me something. All right. Okay. Next. How to set up your webinar for success. Okay, I have a whole webinar about delivering webinars, but I'll give you a little tidbit from it. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do to set you up for success is you want to have a background, right? So when you're doing a webinar, it's not just the PowerPoint. I recommend, if you want to have the most engagement, is to also have yourself on video, because remember, people will buy from people that they like, trust, and respect. How are they going to like, trust, and respect you? They see you, they hear you, they feel you, right? So in order for them to, really connect with you, your video should be on there. So you want to have a good backdrop. You also want to have a good lighting. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm lit up. I could be lit up a little more. Oh, la la, a little more light, right? Let there be light. So the lighting also makes a big difference, because again, it's the visual. If you're in the dark or if there's a glare, they're going to be distracted from your message. You don't want to have distractions, right? And you don't have to buy a fancy plant. This is real, by the way. I'm very proud of myself. I've been able to grow this plant during quarantine. Never could before, but during quarantine, I think it's because I'm doing so many webinars that the plant is growing and likes my voice, right? You don't have to get a fancy set. You could go to Zoom, go to canva.com, canva.com, type virtual Zoom background. And if you're using Zoom for your webinars, which most people do, I do, then you can have a virtual background. You could take a picture of something that you like and make it in your background. And you can add, your logo or any branding you want. Easy peasy. What else do you need? It helps to have a headset. This is a Logitech headset. A lot of headsets are sold out on Amazon, but you can go to your local Staples or Office Depot, Best Buy, and get it. No hay problema. What else? Um, it's also very, very important when you're doing your webinar to set yourself up for success by really remembering this key phrase. And I want you to say it out loud, even if you're working right now. Say it out loud to yourself. Less is more. Why am I saying less is more? Because people cannot retain too much information. I used to have to stop myself in speeches because I would want to give them my 20 years of expertise all in one 45-minute speech. It's better to give people less information, but have them take action on it to get results than to give them too much information, hashtag demasiado, and that means too much in Spanish. Then they're overwhelmed and they associate that overwhelm with you, that you stress them out and they don't like you, right? So you want to set people up for success. How you set people up for success is by taking them for a journey with your presentation, by giving them those facts, telling those stories that support their facts, and then giving them the steps, the call to action so that they can activate not just motivation and inspiration, but activation so they can take action on what you're saying, right? That's why when we do these podcasts and I have guests, I like to summarize what the guest said and what the steps you have, because I'm a coach always at heart. Before I was a speaker, I was a coach. Okay. So how you can set people up for success is, remember, less is more. Have a good backdrop, have good lighting, have a good headset, and don't overwhelm people with content. And it really depends. Like when I give a 90-minute, I've been doing a lot of 90-minute webinars, really 75 minutes, because there's questions. I probably have 17 slides, but a lot of the slides are filler slides. They're like the intro and the objectives. And I used to, when I did workshops, have like ground rules and guidelines. I don't have a slide for ground rules and guidelines, but let me tell you, if you want to have a good webinar, you need to have ground rules and guidelines, because after the last 3 months, probably doing more webinars than I've ever done in my entire career, my entire life, literally. One of the keys that I learned is you need to manage your audience, just like anything. So you need to tell them, let them know when they can ask you questions, when they cannot ask you questions, because you need to be able to focus on your information, and you can't keep stopping to answer questions unless you want to. But remember, you're the facilitator. You are in control, and you need to have that control. And another way to have that control, I know you didn't ask it yet, but I'm going to tell you, and I have a whole webinar about logistics of this. You want to make sure that you have everybody muted and that they cannot unmute themselves, because the worst thing to ever have on a webinar is like you're listening to a speaker and all of a sudden you hear somebody washing their hands or doing the dishes, babies crying, husbands screaming, dogs barking. Ain't nobody got time for that. Guess what? They're going to leave your webinar. So you need to, before you get to the webinar started, go to settings if you're using Zoom or whatever you're using, Webinar Jam, etc. Lock it down. Put everybody on mute them. Okay. And what I do is I allow people questions in the Q&A and I answer them. Like every 20 minutes, I stop myself and answer the questions. But you have to manage that. You can't constantly, just like when I was on Periscope, people would write in comments the whole 20 minutes I was talking. If I would look at the comments and answer every question, I would never present any information. So you want to make sure that you manage that well. Okay. So next question, how do you convert these webinars into coaching clients or consulting clients? So I talked about that you could use webinars for coaching, but I didn't say how to actually convert it. Let's talk about the process, because partially what you're doing is you're connecting with them via the webinar. You're opening up dialogue by having maybe your logo or your website at the bottom. So you're giving them an invitation to go to that next step with you. Maybe that's a 15-minute complimentary clarity session. Maybe that's a 30-minute video that you send them about your services or whatever. Not 30-minute, 3-minute video. Whatever is your onboarding process, you need to have that clear call to action. So everybody talks about CTA, have a call to action, but not just any call to action. It needs to be a clear call to action, because here's what many people do, including me. I used to do this. I had to stop myself. I used to say, oh, well, follow me on Facebook. Oh, and don't forget to link up with me on LinkedIn. And don't forget I'm on the gram. And I would give them all these things and they would do nothing. Remember, less is more. Demasiado, too much, is not our friend, right? If we give people too many options, they do nothing. They do nothing. So you want to give them one thing to do. Clear call to action. So the clear call to action could be like at the end of your webinar, you could have a slide, and it could be a gift slide. Say, have a gift for everyone. If you want to get a copy of this webinar, go to my website and subscribe to my newsletter. And when you subscribe to the newsletter, you will get the download of the webinar. Or you could just say, go to my newsletter and you could get a free ebook and a download of the webinar, whatever you want to say. But you really don't have to give them too much. The copy of your webinar, the video recording, is worth its weight in gold, right? Because they could watch and learn from you over and over and over again. I tell people, you can rewind me, you can fast forward me, you can pause me, you can delete me, whatever you want to do. But giving them that has a lot of value, especially if you're charging for webinars, which will bring me to my next question, whether to charge or to do it for free. Okay, so how do you convert? You have the very last slide, the clear call to action, and say the clear call to action is to schedule an appointment, a one-on-one clarity session, right? I used to do an hour session, then I did 45 minutes, then I did 30 minutes. Now I do 15. And you could use Calendly. I don't use Calendly, but you could use Calendly and you could ask questions. So, what is your biggest challenge? That you need my services for. What are your goals with this session? If I could solve one pain or problem for you, what would it be? If I could wave a magic wand, and how would investing in coaching with Deborah Deras solve all your problems? Notice keyword investing. You say that, because if you don't say that, they're going to be like, oh, good, this is a free pick your brain session. But it's not a free pick your brain session. Your brain is very valuable and you need to be paid. Keyword and be a paid speaker. Paid. You need to be paid for your brain picking, or you're going to have no brain left. You're going to have a headache. Okay. So what you need to do is, in those 15 minutes, before this call, you're going to have all the answers, and then you're going to hear them say it out loud. And basically they're going to talk themselves into needing your service, because they're going to state their pain and problem clearly. And you're going to position your service as the solution. Easy breezy, right? Easy breezy. So there you go, right? And those people that don't fill out the questions or don't follow the directions, great. They've screened themselves out, because you do not have time to waste with people flaking out on you. Can't tell you how many flaky people I had. Pa la calle, out the door. We don't have time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. All right. Okay, next question. Should I do free webinars or fee webinars? Right now, in the age of COVID-19 that I'm shooting this podcast, there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of free information out there. There's a lot of great information out there. Tony Robbins is doing a 5-day challenge. Panache Desai is doing like an everyday meditation. Big time speakers. Eckhart Tolle is doing something. Oprah, blah, blah, blah. No, I don't think Oprah's doing anything free. She's always getting paid. My mentor taught me, own your stuff. But so the question is, what is your intention? Oh, I always say this. What is your intention? So is your intention for this webinar to have it as a revenue generating activity where, it's part of your funnel? And, from that revenue generating activity, if it's a revenue generating activity just for visibility, publicity, to build your email list, then absolutely do it free. But if it's part of your funnel and you have a free item like a podcast, and then you're taking them to the next level, I charge for my webinars. So I don't think there's any problem to charge for a webinar, not a high cost, but a low cost. I like a $27 type thing, um, because it's getting people to understand the pain or problem that you solve. And when they do that, guess what? They can go into your programs, right? Most of us as speakers, and that's why I mentioned Kajabi at the very beginning of this podcast, we need to have some sort of passive income. We need to have some sort of digital products. Do you remember early days of going to speaking and going to conferences, Darlene? They would sell tapes in the back of the room, or they would sell CDs, or they would sell DVDs, or they would sell T-shirts. Every speaker worth their weight in salt would have some sort of a back of the room sales. And us, all of you listening right here and right now, we need to do the same. So whether it's an online course or a group coaching program or a mastermind or whatever it is, we need to be able to have something that we can upsell them. So definitely doing a webinar that gives them a taste of you, right? So maybe they get free you on Facebook Live or on a podcast, and then they do a webinar and it's a small little entry level price. And then they go to your group coaching program, which is a higher level price. And then maybe they want to work with you VIP, and then that's a higher level price, right? Coaching or consulting with you or retreat with you. Does that make sense? So important that we're clear with our intention so that we're making decisions based on strategy, not based on impulse, right? That's what I had to learn the hard way. Remember, mistakes I made, you're not going to make them. So don't act based on impulse, act based on strategy. Whether it's fee or whether it's free, it all depends on your intention. If you're doing it to build your email list because you're going to launch a new product, go ahead. Don't charge anything. But if you are doing it to get them up your funnel from free to low cost to medium cost to high cost, my money coach, Michelle, remember Michelle? She was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. She talked about this. Very, very important. Okay. Next, how do I, that was good, right? You answered your question? Fantastic. Okay, next question. How do I automate my webinars? Ooh la la. So I have been seeing people like Lisa's top speakers, like Lisa Nichols, who took her speaking company public, Lisa Sasevich, Gabrielle Bernstein, who else? Marie Forleo, all these people using webinars to grow their business, right? And how were they doing it? They were automating it. And there are different programs you can use to automate. The one that is the most recommended is Webinar Jam. There's also Easy Webinar. You could do your research, Webinar Ninja, all these different programs. But the one that Lisa Nichols uses, Success Leaves Clues, is Webinar Jam. And I'm not trying to market it or promote it in any way, but do your research and see which one works best for you. Because one of my clients tried Easy Webinar. I recommended Webinar Jam to him, but he decided not to listen to me. Shame on him. So he went to Easy Webinar and he found out you can't use PowerPoint on Easy Webinar. He's like, how am I going to do a webinar without a PowerPoint? So he decided not to do that at all. So really, really important that we get clear. And when we're going to be doing a system, we want to know what is going to meet our needs. So how Webinar Jam works is you record a webinar once, then maybe you do some Facebook ads to your target niche, and then you get it out to the world. And then guess what? People are in your funnel signing up for your online coaching programs, signing up for your membership, signing up for your mastermind, signing up for VIP with you, whatever it is that is your clear call to action from the webinar. Oh, let me tell you, friends, I saw this girl. I wish I remember her name. She was a social media goddess like me. She's awesome, actually. I did not get to watch her webinar because I was coaching clients, but she was pretty cool. And at the end of the webinar, she did an awesome upsell to her coaching program, her online social media program. And I thought, I like this girl. she's doing it right. So, and she did it not in a salesy way at all. She was like, I know during this webinar, I covered a lot of information and I'm here to support you along the way. I'm not just trying to give you information and then say good luck. I'm here to support you. So that's why I've created this group, you know, or I don't know, it wasn't group. That's why I created this membership program. And, normally it's 97, but it's 47 if you sign up today with this link, blah, blah, blah. And you also get a Facebook group. You also get the recordings, blah, 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 blah. So she gave her little pitch and it was good. And she used can I tell you this? All of the 5 steps to close a sale in her pitch. Can I tell you what the 5 steps are? And then we're going to stop because I know I don't want to be demasiado. I don't want to be too much. Is this too much, Darlene? Is this too much? Can you handle it? Okay. So the 5 steps for closing the sale are: number 1, irresistible offer. So the irresistible offer that this lady made, I wish I remembered her name, was not only was it $50 off, but you also got a bonus when you sign up. Oh, I just remembered a copy of her book, a hard copy of her book, and she was going to mail it to your friggin' house. Like you weren't even going to have to download it from the internet and then print out 100 pieces of paper and kill your printer. No, she was going to mail you the book. I was like, wow, girl. So she did the irresistible offer. So it was program $50 off plus the Facebook group plus mailing the book. How could you say no, right? Then she did scarcity. She's like, oh, but I only have a certain amount of books because of COVID. I only have 50 books. So if you're interested, sign up today. That was number 3. I don't want you guys to see my nails. Urgency. My nails. I'm having problems learning how to do my nails with the gel manicure at home. Deb, the manicurist, is not as savvy as Deb, the podcaster. Okay, it's not my skill. All right. So irresistible offer, scarcity, only 50 books. Urgency, sign up today by midnight. Then risk reversal. And the risk reversal that she used, wow, it's coming back to me, her whole pitch. It's like in my mind. The risk reversal that she used was, and there's no obligation or contract. You can unsubscribe from your membership anytime. So then you're like, oh, no obligation? And then she did the clear call to action. She said, you can try it for 7 days for only $1. And I was like, what? Only $1? So I don't even have to spend the $47 right now. And I thought, that's good. That is good. Right? So there you go. How do you convert webinars into getting people into your programs? You do a clear call to action pitch with the 5 steps. You automate it by doing webinar jamming. You don't have to automate it. If you love doing webinars, you want to do them live, you like the interaction with people, you don't have to pre-record them. It's just an efficient use of your time, right? So that you could be doing other things, like maybe finishing your book or whatever other projects that you have, starting a podcast. Ooh la la. Okay. So love it. So my friends, we're out of time. I wish I could answer. I have 5 more questions. However, we have more podcast episodes. I'm really excited because in my future episode, whatever the month is, the next month, July, Julio, the next month, my mentor, who has been my speaking coach for probably 25 years now, is going to talk about virtual presentations, how to get certified as a virtual presenter, because speakers bureaus are looking for people that can present webinars, right? That can present online. Speaking of which, I am doing, those of you that are listening live, I am doing a webinar on Wednesday, July 1st at 5:30 p.m. on how to deliver dynamic webinars. Wow. Where are you going to sign up? deborahderas.com/webinars. Cool. And everybody on the podcast has a discount code of webinar 2020. It's discount code. Ooh la la. That's fantastic, right? And I'm going to tell all of the secrets. So by the end of that, and you will get a recording of that, you will be able to deliver dynamic webinars. So I hope this was helpful for you. I loved your questions, and I really appreciate you tuning in every week to the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. If you love the show, make sure that you write a review on iTunes. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, make sure you share. If you're watching on IGTV, you can send it in a messenger box to DM it to your best of friends. And I am so grateful to be able to be of service to you, to be able to wake up and walk from my bedroom to my living room and to be able to help you to monetize your magnificence gives me a purpose to get out of bed in the morning. I honestly would be really sad and depressed if I didn't have you to serve. So I just want to say thank you for being my reason for getting out of bed in the morning every day, because I believe that you are a messenger for a very, very important message, and that together, with the power of synergy, anything is possible. Ciao.